Hi, I'm Sailor. Most people say I wear my heart on my sleeve, which probably explains why I couldn't drive past that whimpering bundle of fur on Richardson Avenue. Even as the minutes ticked by on my dashboard clock, minutes I didn't have to spare on my first day at Monarch Industries, I pulled over. "Hey there, little one," I whispered, approaching the trembling dog. "What happened to you?" The pit bull mix had a deep gash on its leg and flinched when I reached out. My phone showed 8:42 a.m. Orientation started at 8:30. I dialed my husband, Chase. "Chase, I'm going to be late. There's an injured dog." "Sailor, you can't be late today." Chase's voice tightened. "You know how Dad is about punctuality, first impressions and all that." "I can't just leave it here bleeding," I said, already wrapping my scarf around the dog's leg. "Your dad will understand. It's an emergency." "My father doesn't consider animal emergencies actual emergencies," Chase sighed. "Text me the vet's address. I'll meet you there." Dr. Perez worked quickly, stitching up the gash. "Lucky you found him when you did." "Not feeling particularly lucky," I mumbled, watching the clock hit 9:30. Chase paced by the reception desk, phone pressed to his ear. "Dad, please. Yes, I know it's her first day. She was saving a dog that was—" His face fell. "Dad, that's not fair." I knew that look. My stomach dropped. "He wants you to come in immediately," Chase said, hanging up. I rushed into Monarch Industries at 10:15, dog blood still on my blouse. Douglas Richardson, CEO, and my father-in-law stood in the lobby, expression granite hard. "Mr. Richardson, I can explain. My office." His voice could have frozen fire. Inside his immaculate office, I tried again. "Sir, I'm truly sorry for being late. There was an injured dog." "Monarch doesn't employ dog rescuers," he interrupted, straightening papers on his desk. "We employ professionals who understand commitment. It was an emergency." "An emergency would be a human in danger," he said flatly. "Not some stray mutt." My chest tightened. "With all due respect, sir, compassion shouldn't have species boundaries." "Compassion doesn't pay our investors," he replied. "This company wasn't built on bleeding hearts." "So you're saying you would have left it to die?" His eyes narrowed. "I'm saying I would have called animal control and arrived at my job on time. I couldn't, which demonstrates precisely why you're unsuitable for Monarch." He slid a paper across his desk. "You're fired." The words hit like a physical blow. "Fired? For helping an animal in need? For demonstrating that your priorities don't align with this company's values?" Marcus, the HR director, knocked and entered. "Mr. Richardson, perhaps we should discuss—" "The decision is final," Douglas cut him off. "But sir," Marcus persisted, "there are protocols." "I don't need protocols to tell me who belongs in my company," Douglas snapped. As I left the office, Zoe from marketing caught my arm. "What happened?" she whispered. "I just got fired," I replied, voice hollow. "For saving a dog?" "That's ridiculous!" Zoe's eyes widened. "Even for Richardson. Look, call me later." She slipped me her card. "This doesn't sound right." Outside, Chase waited, face pale. "Sailor, I'm so sorry. Dad just texted me." "He fired me, Chase, on my first day, for being a decent human being." "I'll talk to him," he promised. "No," I said firmly. "I don't want his charity. What he did wasn't just cruel. It felt wrong." "What do you mean?" "I don't know yet," I said, watching Marcus hurry across the parking lot toward us. "But I think I'm about to find out." "Richardson never revoked company policies when he acquired Monarch," Marcus explained, sliding a worn employee handbook across the cafe table. "Including this one." I read aloud. "Employees shall not face disciplinary action for tardiness resulting from emergency situations, including medical emergencies involving humans or animals." "The Compassion Clause," Marcus nodded. "Written by the previous owner who was a massive animal rights advocate. Your father-in-law hates it, but legally it's still binding." "Why are you helping me?" I asked. "Because what happened was wrong," he replied simply. And because Richardson has been running Monarch like his personal kingdom for too long. Chase stared at the handbook. Dad never mentioned this clause. Of course not, Marcus said. He's violated it 3 times this year alone. My phone buzzed. Zoe was calling. Sailor? I heard what happened. A bunch of us are furious. I've got Marcus here with an interesting development, I replied. The compassion clause? Zoe asked. Already on it. Listen, Richardson's having lunch with the board tomorrow. Meet me beforehand? I have some ideas. Later that evening, Chase's mother, Patricia, called. Sailor, darling, I heard what Douglas did. Absolutely appalling. Thank you, Patricia, but no buts. Douglas always does this. Operates like the rules don't apply to him. Did you know about the compassion clause? Just found out today. Well, he's known about it for years. He tried to eliminate it when he took over, but it would have required board approval. The board loved Elaine Montgomery, the founder, and refused to touch her legacy policies. That's enlightening. Douglas has always struggled with compassion, Patricia sighed. It's why our marriage failed. Later, I found Chase in our home office, shoulders hunched over his laptop. Everything okay? Not really, he replied. I confronted Dad about the compassion clause. And? He said if you pursue this, he'll make sure you never work in this industry again. I sat down heavily. He actually threatened that? His exact words were, she should think very carefully about making an enemy of me. Chase looked up, eyes pained. Sailor, maybe we should just let this go. Dad's influence runs deep. Let it go, I echoed. Chase, he fired me for helping a suffering animal. I know, but there's no but. This isn't just about me anymore. What about the other employees he's done this to? Chase's voice hardened. So you're going to war with my father? No, I replied carefully. I'm standing up to someone who abused his power. There's a difference. Not to him there isn't, Chase countered. He'll see this as a personal attack. Then he'll finally face something he can't control, I said. The truth. The next morning, Zoe introduced me to Raoul from legal. The compassion clause is just the beginning, he explained. Richardson's been playing fast and loose with employment law for years. I don't want to burn the company down, I clarified. I just want accountability. That's exactly what he's afraid of, Zoe replied. You know what they say, sunlight is the best disinfectant. My phone rang. Dr. Perez from the vet clinic. Sailor, that stray you brought in? We found a microchip. He belongs to Elaine Montgomery. The founder of Monarch? I gasped. The same. She's been searching for him for days. She wants to meet you. As I hung up, Chase texted, Dad knows you're meeting with employees. He's furious. Please be careful. Raoul looked grim. Richardson's on the warpath. Are you sure you want to proceed? I thought of the dog whimpering in pain, of Douglas's cold dismissal, of the employees who feared him. Absolutely, I replied. It's time for a conversation with my father-in-law. Douglas Richardson's face darkened when I walked into the Monarch boardroom alongside Elaine Montgomery, the company's revered founder. What is the meaning of this? He demanded, rising from his chair. Hello, Douglas. Elaine smiled pleasantly. I believe you've met Sailor, the woman who saved my Jasper, the board members murmured, exchanging glances. This is a private meeting, Douglas snapped. One I'm still entitled to attend, Elaine replied, taking a seat. As per the acquisition agreement, I retain observer status for 5 years. How convenient that Sailor mentioned her situation when we met. I sat beside her, heart hammering. Mr. Richardson, I've come to discuss my termination. There's nothing to discuss, he said flatly. You were late on your first day. Due to an animal emergency, I countered, which is explicitly protected under the compassion clause in company policy. Douglas's jaw tightened. That obscure policy is still in effect, Marcus interjected, entering with a folder. As HR director, I can confirm the compassion clause remains active company policy. You're overstepping, Marcus, Douglas warned. Actually, I'm finally doing my job properly, Marcus replied, distributing documents to board members. These are the 3 other terminations this year that violated the same clause. A woman with silver-streaked hair, the board chair, I realized, frowned at Douglas. Is this accurate? Beverly, this is absurd, Douglas sputtered. She's manipulating the situation. By following company policy? I asked. Or by saving Elaine Montgomery's dog? Elaine leaned forward. Douglas, when you acquired Monarch, you promised to honor our corporate values. Compassion was fundamental among them. Business requires tough decisions, Douglas insisted. Not sentimentality over strays. That stray was a beloved pet, Elaine replied sharply. And this sentimentality built Monarch's reputation for ethical leadership. You're defending someone who chose a dog over professional responsibility, Douglas argued. I'm defending the values this company was built on, Elaine countered. Values you agreed to uphold. Douglas turned to me, voice lowering dangerously. You've made a serious mistake coming here. This little performance won't end well for you. Are you threatening me? I asked calmly. I'm stating facts, he replied. You'll regret making an enemy of me. Ask Chase. He knows what happens to people who cross me. The room fell silent. Did you just threaten your son as well? Beverly asked, eyebrows raised. Douglas backpedaled. I merely meant family loyalty should mean something. It does, I agreed, which is why I'm disappointed you'd use it as a weapon. This is ridiculous, Douglas snapped, standing abruptly. I won't be lectured in my own boardroom. Actually, Beverly interrupted, this is the company's boardroom, and I believe we need to discuss several concerning issues that have been raised. You can't seriously be taking her side, Douglas gestured dismissively toward me. What I'm taking seriously is evidence of policy violations, Beverly replied. And that apparent threat we all just witnessed? Douglas's face reddened. If you support this insubordination, you'll regret it. I built this company into what it is today. You acquired this company, Elaine corrected quietly. There's a difference. This is a conspiracy, Douglas hissed, pointing at me. You'll never work in this industry again. I'll make sure of it. The board members exchanged alarmed glances. I think we've heard enough, Beverly said firmly. Douglas, please step outside while the board discusses these developments. As Douglas stormed out, he brushed roughly past me, whispering, This isn't over. Marcus leaned toward me. It might be for him, though. The board has determined that your termination violated company policy, Beverly announced 3 days later in the same boardroom. You're entitled to reinstatement with back pay, or a severance package if you prefer not to return. Thank you, I replied. But I have concerns about working under Mr. Richardson after everything that's happened. That won't be an issue, Beverly said. The board has placed Douglas on administrative leave pending further review of his management practices. Marcus added, We've already identified multiple other policy violations. Douglas crossed a line threatening you in front of the board, Elaine explained. It confirmed the concerns many had already raised privately. I signed the reinstatement papers, feeling a strange mixture of vindication and discomfort. Chase had barely spoken to me since the boardroom confrontation, torn between understanding my position and loyalty to his father. Zoe squeezed my shoulder. Monarch needs people like you, people who stand up for what's right. Later that week, I found Douglas waiting beside my car after work. Come to threaten me again? I asked, keeping my distance. I came to discuss our situation, he replied, looking less commanding in casual clothes. There's nothing to discuss. The board made their decision. Look, I may have overreacted, he said, spreading his hands. We both did. Let's put this unpleasantness behind us, for Chase's sake. This isn't about Chase, I replied. It's about accountability. I made a mistake, he insisted. Everyone deserves a second chance. Like the second chance you gave me? I asked. Or those other employees you fired? His expression hardened. I'm trying to make peace here. No, you're trying to save yourself, I corrected. There's a difference. What do you want? An apology? Fine, I apologize. I don't want your apology, I replied. I want you to understand why what you did was wrong, and I don't think you're capable of that. Sailor, be reasonable, he pleaded. I'm Chase's father. Which is why I'm being civil, I replied. But I won't pretend everything's okay when it isn't. You're making a mistake, he warned, echoes of his old threat lingering. No, you made the mistake, I replied firmly, when you chose power over compassion. Later, Chase and I sat in uncomfortable silence at our kitchen table. The board offered Dad early retirement, he finally said. He's taking it. I didn't ask for that, I replied honestly. But you're not sorry about it either, he observed. No, I admitted. I'm not. He's still my father, Sailor. And I've never asked you to choose between us, I replied gently. I just couldn't let him abuse his power without consequences. Chase reached for my hand. It's going to take time. For all of us. 2 weeks later, Elaine invited me to her office. Jasper, now recovered, wagged his tail beside her desk. The board would like to create a new position, she explained. Director of Corporate Ethics and Employee Advocacy. We thought you might be interested. Why me? I asked, surprised. Because you demonstrated exactly what Monarch needs, she replied. Compassion and courage in equal measure. Raoul knocked and entered with Marcus and Zoe. We've been reviewing the company culture, Zoe explained. Finding ways to restore what was lost under Richardson's leadership. Starting with reinstating those wrongfully terminated employees, Marcus added. This company was founded on the belief that business and compassion aren't mutually exclusive, Elaine said. Someone needed to remind us of that. As I walked through Monarch's lobby that evening, I passed the newly installed company values plaque. At the top, freshly engraved, Compassion without compromise. Chase waited outside, holding Jasper's leash. Dad called today, he said hesitantly. He asked if we'd consider Sunday dinner next month. What did you tell him? I asked. That we'd think about it, he replied. That's all I could offer right now. I nodded, understanding the complicated road ahead. That's fair. Was it worth it? Chase asked suddenly. All of this? I watched Jasper trotting happily beside him, thinking of the employees returning to their jobs, of Douglas facing consequences perhaps for the first time. Yes, I said finally, because some principles are worth defending, even when it's difficult, especially then. I'm starting to understand that, Chase admitted. It just took me a little longer. What would you have done? Would you have stood your ground against someone with power over you, even if it meant risking everything? Or would you have walked away? Sometimes the hardest choices reveal who we truly are.